Shocking scenes in Bahrain of the type we very rarely see in Formula One. Sadly, I have seen a few like that. Cannot express more how I think everybody just was almost in tears when they saw Romain jumping out of the car, and the safety crew, the FIA Safety crew, there so quickly. Just amazing. So much credit due to them, to the FIA, for that whole system. Also for the car, I think we have to say that most Formula One cars probably would have had the same reaction hitting the guardrail at that angle, at that speed, because there are so many templates governing the design of the car. Difficult to go any further into that until we know more, of course. Very rare to see a fire like that. And as I say, for Romain to get himself out of that car, one of his boots came off. That was the impact of the shunt, or maybe he left it there and got his foot out because it was trapped in the footwell area, but he got out. I mean, that was just amazing as well. But the point of doing this very quick video now, prior to the one we're going to do later, is to say that for me, the real emphasis here is on accidents on the straight. We spend so much time and money and energy protecting the drivers and the cars and the fans on corners and in braking areas, but it's on the straights, obviously, that the worst accidents can still occur, because that's the place where normally you wouldn't expect it. But if two cars touch, wheels get interlocked. Just think about that uphill stretch from turn 1 at Monaco, from Saint-Devote up the hill, if 3 or 4 cars got involved there, for example. And the point is that he hit an unprotected guardrail. And the reason that guardrail was unprotected is it was effectively on the straight then. Okay, it was at an angle. That's because there's an outlet there for the safety cars, etc. And I think probably, for me, the lesson from this accident will be to look more at the protection we give the drivers on the straights, because anything can happen in race conditions on the straights. 2 cars can touch, obviously, and if you hit an unprotected guardrail now, it is very, very different accident from one that is protected by barriers, by the wonderful. And if you hit a all in a state of shock, I think, still from that accident from Romain. I'm doing this short video now, A, to pay tribute to the FIA rescue team and for all of the FIA systems that went into to seeing that sight of Romain jumping out of the flames into safety. Just amazing. I think we all had tears in our eyes then to see that. I've seen plenty of accidents in my time in racing, not many as bad as that. And to see him get out of that, I'm still absolutely incredulous that he did. One of his boots came off in the accident. Whether or not he had to drag himself out of the footwell, it was stuck in the footwell area, and to get out, he had to get his foot out of his boot on the clutch side, the left side. I don't know, but that just gives an idea of the severity of the impact. But to be able to get out of that with the fire, with that impact, just amazing. I think there'll be a lot of talk about the car splitting into 2. I suspect that most of the cars would have had the same result because of the impact, because of the speed. There's a huge template now governing the design of Grand Prix cars, so it's difficult to imagine that the Haas car was any different from any other in terms of how it reacted. But that's for further down the road. Obviously, we wish Romain well, thoughts are with him. And beyond that, I would say that this is an example of how we don't have protected barriers on the straights at most Grand Prix circuits. And that's because accidents don't really happen in a straight line. But it's always been my contention, going back years and years and years, that we need to think more about accidents on the straights, because they can occur in race conditions. Wheels can become interlocked, cars can touch. And that's what was the real cause of the severity of this accident today. It was an unprotected guardrail. And we very rarely see Formula One cars going into unprotected guardrails these days. We see the barriers, the Tech Pro barriers doing such a great job, the water-filled barriers. As recently as Russia in that Formula 2 shunt, we saw Luca Giotto and Jack Aitken getting out completely unscathed. No, there was a bit of smoke, but there wasn't fire. But this is an unprotected barrier, and I think we need to think more about these on the straights, because accidents can occur on the straights. Just think about that run up the hill, for example, from turn 1 at Monaco, Saint-Devote, up the hill. Imagine if 2 or 3 cars today got interlocked, wheels interlocked, and one of them went up in the air. What could happen there? And it goes for most circuits. Anyway, this is just a short video to say, Romain, wish you well. Just amazing to see you get out of the car. Thoughts are with you. And for everybody in Formula One who's behind the safety, a big hug is all I can say.